Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney and let's talk about the Rockford IceHogs. So, if you're a Hogs fan, you know this past weekend wasn't very kind to the team from Rockford. They had back-to-back games, much like their big brothers in Chicago. They played the Chicago Wolves twice, once in Hoffman Estates, once in Rockford, and they lost both of them. Saturday's loss went to Ivan Nalimov, Sunday's loss went to Matt Tompkins. I really very much do not wish to talk about both games in depth, but I will tell you the IceHogs goal scorers because that is good news. And I love good news when it comes to my IceHogs. And goals are always good news. On Saturday night, after the Chicago Wolves had already taken a 4-0 lead, that was the game where they got 2 goals in the first minute. And just for funsies, they scored a goal in the first minute of every period that night. I was totally okay. I was perfectly fine. I wasn't losing my mind at all. But after they had taken that 4-0 lead, 2 minutes and 4 seconds into the second period, Cody Franzen got on the board. That was assisted by Chris Wilkie and Evan Barrett. What do you know? The IceHogs had 2 goals in a row in that period. They came very spaced apart, but they didn't allow a Chicago goal in between. 15 minutes and 15 seconds into the second period, Evan Barrett got a goal of his own, and that was assisted by the captain Garrett Mitchell. And then they allowed 2 more Chicago Wolves goals, one at the end of the second period, one again in the first minute of the third period. And then the IceHogs scored again 8 minutes and 42 seconds into the third period. Reese Johnson got on the board. That was assisted by Wyatt Kelnick and Chris Wilkie. Chris Wilkie had 2 assists on the night. Wyatt Kelnick got called up after this weekend's games. And maybe Reese Johnson is starting to turn on the point production down here in Rockford. We shall certainly see, but that game ended 6-3 in favor of the Chicago Wolves. Then we moved on to Sunday's game back at home at the BMO Harris Bank Center in downtown Rockford, Illinois. And the very first goal of the game came 16 minutes and 34 seconds into the first period, and it was scored by the home team. Dylan McLaughlin got the first goal of the game. And it was on the power play! And the assists went to 2 guys that the Blackhawks fans are very interested in. Evan Barrett, Wyatt Kelnick. I'm telling you, Wyatt Kelnick just seems to rack up assists. It does help that he's typically paired with Cody Franzen and on the top power play unit, but not all guys who get that role get as many points as he does, so he's definitely a factor in all of them. I don't know about you, but I want Kelnick back for this weekend when they take on the Wolves again on Saturday, but he's in the Blackhawks lineup tonight. They seem to like him after the last game, so we'll see what happens. I'm not going to hold my breath, but I'm definitely going to cross my fingers and hope. After the first goal of the game, the IceHogs allowed 2 from the Chicago Wolves, 1 in the first period, 1 in the second period. And then 16 minutes and 13 seconds into the second period, Evan Barrett got a goal of his own. That means he had goals in consecutive games this weekend. Good for him. That one was assisted by Cody Franzen, Mr. Point Getter, and Chris Wilkie, who has been one of the bigger surprises on the IceHogs roster this year. He was a free agent signing out of college. You never really know what you're gonna get with those guys, but he's factored in a lot of the points the IceHogs have put up this year, and he's got all of their shorthanded goals, which are 3 of them. So good for you, Chris. Glad to have you. And not wanting to be just Mr. Assist, 8 minutes and 3 seconds into the second period on the power play, Wyatt Kelnick got a goal. Of course, it was assisted by Cody Franzen, because that's just what he does, and Mackenzie Entwistle, who was thankfully returned to the IceHogs from his stint with the Blackhawks, where he did see his first NHL game. So good for you, but I'm glad to have you back. And then they allowed 2 more goals from the Chicago Wolves, both in the second period. But to fill all of our hearts with good feelings, 1 minute and 15 seconds into the third period on the power play, Josiah Slavin got his first AHL goal in his first AHL game. A draft pick of the Chicago Blackhawks, he played a couple of years in college. He signed with the team once his season was over, and he finally made his debut and got a power play goal. That is a very good way to introduce yourself to IceHogs fans. We love us some power play goals, because we don't get them very often. And to kill all of our good feelings, the Chicago Wolves added another goal. That goal was the game winner because Josiah Slavin had tied the game at 4. But then Mr. Matty Tompkins decided had to go on an adventure behind the net, turned the puck over, it got to the Wolves and into the back of the net because that's what happens when goalies go on adventures, and I was not very happy about it. I've been rough on Matt Tompkins this year. Well, you can't say I've been wrong. For the sake of all of us, let's take those 2 games, wad them up, throw them in the garbage, and set them on fire. We haven't had to do that in a while. It's a nice little callback. You know, if nice equals depressing. They play again on Saturday against these same Chicago Wolves. Here's my 3 questions. Question 1, will the power play remain effective? Now that, my friends, is a huge question when it comes to the Rockford IceHogs, but on Sunday, 3 of their 4 goals were scored on the power play. Your guess is as good as mine what kind of power play we will see on Saturday, but I know that we are all hoping for something good. Question 2, can the IceHogs get and then hold a lead? Question kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? They got the first goal of the game on Sunday and they lost. So clearly they got the lead but could not hold the lead. I was so happy about Josiah Slavin's goal, I didn't tell you who assisted on it. Now that I'm looking at the goal here, I just realized that. So here's a little interjection in between my questions. Josiah Slavin's goal on Sunday was assisted by Lucas Carlson and Ian Mitchell with his first AHL point. If you saw my video from this weekend, I talked about a bunch of the different roster moves. Ian Mitchell was sent down to Rockford. He had a very good start of the year with the Blackhawks. His game kind of started falling off a little bit, so he's been sent down to get some more playing time. I'm sure he'll be called up sooner than we would all like, but in the meantime, we can enjoy watching him. That is the end of this interjection. Let's get back to the questions I have for Saturday's game. Question 3, will Cale Morris get a start in a game that isn't the second half of a back-to-back? Oh, it's been a while since we've had this question, but here we are because we had 2 different goaltenders play last weekend and they both lost. Meanwhile, you got Cale Morris over here on the bench, and he is 2-0 in the games that he has started. He made his AHL debut in relief of Matt Tompkins in the 3rd period of a game. Unfortunately, the IceHogs lost that game, but it was already pretty far gone at that point. But in both games he's started, he's won them, and they've all been on the second half of a back-to-back, because I guess that is the backup goaltender treatment, but he's clearly been the better goaltender out of all the guys that we've started this year. And with the IceHogs not having beat the Chicago Wolves even once so far this season, you know, maybe just try to mix it up and start the goaltender who just keeps winning games that he plays instead of the goaltenders that can't win a game. But that's just me. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Please just start Cale. I just want to see it. I want to see him get more playtime. He has earned it. For those of you who haven't kept up with the IceHogs or my crazy rantings and ramblings so far this year, I'll give you the goalie stats. We'll start with Colin Delia. He was sent down on a conditioning stint. He played 4 games with the IceHogs. He went 2-2. He had a 5.16 goals against average and an .858 save percentage. Now we'll go to Ivan Nalimov, maybe not super fair because he's only played that 1 game, but just for funsies. He is 0-1 with a 6 goals against average and an .838 save percentage. Tom Aubryn got some game action. He came in relief of Colin Delia in one of those 2 losses that he earned. Auburn's only played just under 32 minutes of game time. He doesn't have a win or a loss to his name because the loss went to Delia, but he's got a 3.79 goals against average and an .895 save percentage. He saved 17 of the 19 shots that he faced. Now we will go to our starting goaltender, Matty Tompkins. He's played 10 games. He's rocking a 3.43 goals against average and a .902 save percentage. He's got a record of 2-7-1. Now let's just pop on up to Mr. Cale Morris, shall we? He's technically played 3 games. He's started 2, played the 3rd period of 1. He's allowed 4 goals in that time. He has saved 86 of the 90 that he has faced. His record is 2-0-0. He's got a 1.72 goals against average and a .956 save percentage. Now do you see why I want him to play? Yeah, he's got a small sample size in the games played, but every other goaltender who has started a game for the Rockford IceHogs this year has lost their first one terribly. There have been 3 goaltenders for the IceHogs this year who have started 2 games. Or I guess I should say at least 2 games, one of those being Cale. He's only started 2, he's 2-0. The other 2, Maddie Tompkins, Colin Delia, both of them lost their first 2 games. Terribly! So while it may be a small sample size for Cale Morris, he's clearly done better than everybody else. Instead of losing both games he has started, he has won both of them. So, doesn't make sense to not give him a shot. What do you have to lose? The IceHogs are completely defeated when it comes to the Chicago Wolves this year. The Wolves are first in the division. They are running through everybody. It's not just an IceHogs problem. But the IceHogs are last in the division. You don't have anything to lose by starting the rookie. And maybe, just maybe, something good will happen and you'll discover you have a new starting goaltender, kind of like the Blackhawks did. They didn't expect Kevin Lankinen to come in and be the starter. They were ready to roll with Colin Delia and Malcolm Subban. But guess what? They gave the other guy a chance, and guess what? He's definitely a Calder nominee this year. Or he really should be. If they mess this up, I'm going to be so mad. Goaltenders are weird. You never know what you have until you play them. But Cale Morris has shown that he has earned more starts, more ice time. He's been the best goaltender that the IceHogs have, and it's basically like pulling teeth for him to get a start. I get it. Matt Tompkins is a free agent at the end of this year. He's been with the organization longer. He was a Chicago Blackhawks draft pick. They want to give him the best opportunity. They want to see what they have. But he's only had a stretch of maybe 3 games where he looked great. The rest have not been good. At some point, you have to make the decision to ride the hot hand, and that hot hand would be Cale Morris. Tell me if I'm crazy here. They just aren't giving themselves the best opportunity to win, plain and simple. And we all know that Derek King and the IceHogs say it's not about wins, it's about development. But you could be developing a brand new starting goaltender and instead he's on the bench. Because Matt Tompkins clearly is not the answer to all of the goaltending issues within this organization. I don't see him getting very much better than he is now. Of course, anything could happen. It is very possible we've seen goaltenders just turn great later in their careers. But maybe let him ride the bench for a bit. Get that hunger back to play better. Just like he did when he came back from the taxi squad. That's when he had that stretch of games where he looked great. I will get off of this rant now. I could go on for a very long time. We talked about it a little bit more in the podcast that we just recorded on Tuesday. That dropped yesterday. You can find it here on this YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts if you just want the audio version. All of that being said, do you have any questions for Saturday's game against the Chicago Wolves? Do you have any observations for the season as a whole? I would love to hear them. Please leave them in the comments down below. If you want to hear more from me or from Center Ice, you can head on over to FromCenterIce.com. Keep up with all the latest podcast episodes, game recaps for the Hogs, previews for the Blackhawks, and some other fun stuff in between. If you are a social media person, you can follow us on all of the different places there. Those are all linked in the description down below. That all being said, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Let's see if the IceHogs can finally beat the Chicago Wolves for once. And I will catch you all after that game. Bye, guys. Thank you all for watching. Please hit that subscribe button to catch more From Center Ice content. If you could, hit the like button on this video, maybe share it with a friend or two. And while you're here, check out the podcast playlist and catch up on some old episodes. We will catch y'all next time. Bye!